These are the last places you'd expect to call home. An oil refinery, flour mill, 100-year-old barn,
and a sheriff's office. I'm Tony Frazeran, and all these homes have been rezoned.
In scenic Fort Pierce, Florida, this former sheriff's office is now a home where you can expect the unexpected.
Yeah. All right, I've broken the law. You're dragging me in. What happens?
Well, for openers, you're no longer the host. You're a perp.
Oh, nice. Oh, nice.
And here we go to interrogation.
I'm framed. I got an alibi. I'm
They
telling you.
all say that. They all say that.
Downstairs on the first floor, homeowner John Ward runs a business out of the old sheriff's office. An interrogation room has turned TV room with some authentic leftovers.
Tell me about this.
Oh, it's the two-way mirror. You've seen it. You've seen it in every television
This
program.
is a real two-way mirror
Yeah.
right here?
Check it out. The officers are on the other side looking at you right now.
Now, John and his wife Terry live on the second floor.
This is so cozy.
Yeah.
I like this.
Home includes 2 bathrooms, 2 bedrooms, and 1 ultra-modern master bath.
There's so many different periods and all sorts of designs in this place. I love it.
Thanks. I think in the dictionary they have a picture of us under the word eclectic.
Yeah, I think they probably would.
He'll be back.
Another bathroom, remodeled by a liquor store tenant in 1953, remains untouched.
Why not just scrap this and do it a different way?
Well, because then it loses all the character and the feeling of the building. I mean, it doesn't have a soul at that point if you just reinvent it when it's brand new.
And in the back of the house, living room, dining room, and kitchen replace a former rooming house.
When we got the house, this was a bedroom, so it was just a big open empty room. Nothing was here.
The rooming house was for 1890s railroad workers traveling the tracks out back. The house-shaking racket could have been a drawback for these homeowners, but it wasn't.
We are train lovers, and so we wanted to be close to the train.
Because most people would think, well, how could you sleep so close to the train?
Exactly, but
And-
actually it helps you sleep.
How cozy is this?
John and Terry restored their guest room, the site of an original rooming house bedroom, to its 1897 glory. Burn marks on the original floor tell a colorful story.
So the trains would come by, drop guys off, they'd lay back in the boarding rooms, smoke after a long day, put the cigarette out right here, those are those marks, and presumably fall asleep.
Although it sounds a little weird, John and Terry's friend has a special relationship with their bedroom closet.
I used to live in this room. It was my bedroom when I was younger, and now I've come back and I'm sitting in a closet.
Built in 1897 as Hendry and Goldsmith Clothiers, this 6,400 square foot building became the Lucey County Sheriff's Office in 1989. But the building wasn't so cool in 2000 when John and Terry got it for a steal.
When we bought the building, it was the ugliest building in town. The sheriff's department had a nickname for it. They called it the Dungeon.
Renovation took 1 year, and John and Terry were determined to make the building homey despite the challenges.
We had to re-strengthen all of the trusses up in the roof line, so they had to do what they call sister boards next to them.
Yeah.
And all the floors also sagged, so we had to jack up all the floors first, and then we jacked up the ceiling, so then we had to replace it.
Wow. Look how spectacular these old floors are. 1897 pine. They're outstanding.
These days, the second floor is shored up solid, and the building has quadrupled in value. The elevated deck in the back is the perfect place for parties.
Here's another great throwback to the old sheriff's department. This room was actually the old holding cell where they used to keep suspects. And if you notice, the peephole looks from the outside in, and the door locks from the outside. Parents, I know what you're thinking. Here's what's coming up next.
An oil refinery gets reworked.
And you won't believe the spectacular renovation inside a 100-year-old barn. Rezoned is coming right back. Renovating a public place like a sheriff's office means inheriting some unique features. Like our next home. Outside, it looks like a barn. Inside, it's unbelievable. Right in the middle of cow country in upstate New York, the FALINO family found the perfect spot for a home.
Well, it's 35 acres of rolling hills.
It has 3 spring-fed ponds. We all fish in them.
And when the fishing day is done, Frank and Andrea's family bunks down in the old dairy barn, built in the 1880s.
Welcome to the barn. The barn is our home for our extended family.
This really is a favorite vacation spot for extended family, a playful space for all 23 nieces and nephews. All those guests fit nicely in this big former barn, with 10,000 square feet covering 3 stories. The first floor serves up a supersized kitchen, dining room, living room, game room, bar, and hearth room.
This is really a favorite room of mine. I love sitting here, and when my kids were little, they come sit on my lap and we look at the fire.
The second floor takes sleeping arrangements to new heights. There's 6 bedrooms, each with their own private bath.
And each bathroom is color-coded, so it has matching linen, so when you're doing the laundry, you know which of the 6 bathrooms it belongs to.
And up on the top floor, the old hay loft is now Slumber Party Central.
When the kids have sleepovers, all the kids pull all the mattresses out on the floors, and they have their own bathroom, and they don't bother us, except when they're running around.
Frank put glass blocks right into the floor of the playroom to let light filter down to the floors below.
We maintained as much of the original structure of the building as we could. These beams go back to the 1880s, and they used an adze, which is sort of like a combination between a hoe and an axe. Nothing's perfectly flat or square with the old timbers, and that's what's so great about them.
Frank patched up the stone walls and restored the original wood siding.
And that was just whitewashed. That's all original to the 1884 structure. So when you're sitting in this area, you really feel like you're in the old barn.
Frank and Andrea stayed true to the barn's nature, even with their furniture.
The tables are all made out of different woods that we found here at the barn.
We're just always looking for ways to use what was here. The door here on the bar was actually made from a ladder that used to run from the hayloft level up all the way to the roof.
Next door in the hearth room, the fireplace was created from recycled stone and barnwood. And it's the perfect place to pay tribute to each member of the FALINO family.
All the zodiac signs of all the grandchildren. And so, you know, I'm a Scorpio, that's me. You know, we're all in here somewhere.
Frank and his parents spent almost 35 years combing the countryside, looking for the ideal family home. When they purchased the place in 1990,
the farmers were selling almost 34 acres with the stream and this, you know, at that time, 100-plus-year-old barn for just over $50,000.
The price was right, but the place had a few issues.
There were a lot of pigeons in the barn.
Barn swallows.
There was a coyote, or the locals call them coy dogs.
There were little signs of what the place might become.
The holes that were in the siding, like the light would come pouring through, so you knew that once you put your windows in and everything, this was going to be a nice, bright, cheery place to be.
And as an architect, the renovations fell to Frank. He worked full-time for 2.5 years, through the record snowfalls, and when the going got rough, he hired some help.
Yeah, we hired, there was a local fireman, we had a couple of local farmers. We had a pretty interesting crew of experienced and non-experienced people working on the place. You know, it was a camp, really, of how to renovate a barn and survive it.
But by doing so much of the hard work themselves, Frank and his family were able to complete the renovations for about $50 a square foot.
You know, I may never work on a building like this again. So it was just a dream come true, you know, from days of architecture school. We've not only created a great home, but we've preserved a piece of the landscape that's been here for a long time.
Everywhere you look, every nook and cranny, there's a little piece of history. I love it. I love it, and it's a part of me that I'll never forget.
An oil refinery gets reworked into a remarkable home.
And a flour mill becomes a fantastic family home. That's coming up next on Rezoned. Rezoning a flour mill into your home is a recipe for a lot of hard work. But wait till you get a look inside.
Daryl and Carolyn Eggers of Bellevue, Iowa, love to show off their home.
Our mill is 5 stories high and over 17,000 square feet.
And it's 90 feet from top to bottom.
Just take the elevator up to the 3rd floor for a tour of the place.
And this is the main living area. There are 2 bedrooms and 2 baths on this floor, and we have an office.
This level, initially it would have been filled with machinery. There would be cleaning machines like this, and they would maybe be stacked 3 high, penetrating even into the next level.
Daryl and Carolyn saved the original floors, but first, random holes leading to the grain chutes had to be patched.
This is one of the neat things about it. You can see here where a chute had gone through the floor, and this would have been open, and our workmen plugged all of these kinds of things that were on this floor and made it work.
The living room is filled with the old mill's mechanical mementos, like this.
Now this is a millstone that we found when they were digging the utility trench in front of the building. The backhoe caught onto it and pulled it up out of the ground.
Upstairs on the 4th floor, there are 2 more bedrooms and baths, each room with its own name.
This is the eagle's nest. This is my favorite room. I like this view over here. Carolyn and I used to always have a table and chairs here, even when all the rest of this place was just construction debris. It was a nice, peaceful place to get away in.
Down the hall, the other bedroom has a special view, too.
This is Carolyn's retreat, and one of my favorite features of this room is the skylight up there, and hi!
A skylight connects the 4th floor to the 5th floor, which is an unfinished attic.
This is somebody else's renovation.
On the 1st and 2nd floors, Daryl and Carolyn run their restaurant in the former powerhouse of the mill. And get this, the stone wall used to be the old dam.
In 1869, Potter raised the dam and put the roof on and changed it to a turbine-operated mill and let the water come through this archway at this level and down through the turbines in the basement.
Potter's Mill is one of the oldest flour mills in the Midwest, dating back to before the Civil War. And this pair of history buffs saved it from destruction.
Anything I had ever seen or heard about Bellevue, it was usually a picture of this mill. And I just didn't think that it should be torn down.
The flour mill, built near the Mississippi River in 1843 by Captain E.G. Potter, was a working mill all the way up until 1969. In operation for over 126 years. Daryl and Carolyn bought Potter's Mill in 1980 for their business. The price?
$20,000 and some odd cents.
Sure, it seemed like a steal, but there was a reason. It had been abandoned for over a decade.
There had been 11 years of bats and pigeons. There were no windows, no panes of glass in the building. There were huge bins full of corn cobs. We just started simply with a shovel.
Luckily, they found one window intact and used it to pattern the new ones, in keeping with the style of the 1840s. Another renovating challenge was a gaping hole in the rear exterior stone wall that had to be patched.
And it extended over this way for a total length of 40 feet. And from here to the bedrock was 17 feet. You see the small trees on the rock? There were trees like that growing out of this wall.
Renovating the interior wasn't much easier. Grime, dating back almost 130 years, had to be hand removed from the original woodwork. Power washing, you ask? It was out of the question.
It will take and erode some of the wood away, and leave grooves. And so we use just a little tiny garden sprayer, and which is very, very low pressure, and elbow grease.
In 1993, Daryl realized this mill could make a great living space. They didn't finish renovating the upper floors until 1999, and when it was all said and done, the renovation cost came to
15 times as much as we paid for it.
For those of you keeping score, that's $300,000 and worth every penny of it.
It's just an amazing structure. I'm really glad it is still here.
Coming up, a crude oil refinery gets, well, refined. It's a dirty job, but somebody had to do it. That's next on Rezoned. Welcome back. It takes a lot of vision and a lot of hard work to transform a public space into a home. Like an oil refinery. Our next home is incredibly slick.
Deep in the heartland of Guthrie, Oklahoma, Lloyd LENTZ lives in what was once an oil refinery.
Welcome to the Carbo oil refinery.
With the exterior pretty close to what it was originally. Inside, he got creative, starting right when you walk in the front door.
We had this Ford that we restored several years back, and it was just a nice place to keep it, part of the family. So we can use this space as a garage or a downstairs living area.
Downstairs, besides the garage/living room, there's also one bedroom and a 1950s style kitchen. While upstairs,
this is the second floor living room that we put together, and we have the atrium area that opens up into the first floor area.
A favorite feature for daughter Brandy.
I used to jump off the second floor down to the first floor. When you're 10 years old, the fall to the floor is not as hard as it would be obviously now if I were to jump.
There's lots more wide open living space on the second floor. A great place to hang out with family and friends.
I gotta level that floor over there.
And just around the bend is the cozy master bedroom.
When the second floor is constructed, it split these windows. So that accounts for the odd design of the windows on the second floor. Of course, the rest of the window continues down below, which is the first floor.
When Brandy lived here, she liked the windows too.
It was easy to sneak out because there were no screens on the windows.
Quick stroll through the master bedroom's closet, and you'll find a cozy little hideaway.
This is the study that's adjacent to the master bedroom here on the second floor. We obtained wood flooring from a old basketball court. This is maple, and the original floor was probably laid down in the 1920s. And you'll notice the red marks and the black marks. When this was laid in on a basketball court, these are the stripes that you see.
The exposed brick is not just decorative, but imperative.
This building is constructed with 2 courses of brick, and so it's not a brick veneer, it's a solid brick construction. So the walls carry the weight of the roof and the structure.
And the new doorway leads to a little outdoor oasis.
Out here, this deck is about 8 by 10 feet, and we constructed it at a slope, so when the rainwater hits this deck, it runs off the edge instead of down against the house.
And a durable deck it is.
It's bulletproof, and it's worked out real well.
Lloyd's Lodging originated as the Carbo oil refinery, with his home, the Boiler House, one of the 5 buildings that are still standing today.
The oil refinery was started in 1918, lasted maybe 10 or 12 years.
And Lloyd has an interesting reminder of what his home once was.
This letter, dated September of 1918, is a letter from the president of the oil company, of the refinery, to the stockholders, telling them that they made their first run of production and the future looked bright and everything was going to be great.
But competition and the Great Depression meant a short life for Carbo Oil, and the building sat vacant for over 40 years. By the time Lloyd found it in the 70s, he knew he had to save it.
I think preserving old structures whether they're houses or commercial, has great value in most communities. This is an artifact from our past, and it means a lot to us.
In the beginning, he wasn't sure buying the refinery was a good idea.
We had numerous second thoughts, but the creative aspect of building this, it kept us going, fortunately.
And there were trials and tribulations along the way.
Probably the biggest challenge in this project was to make the building weathertight, where the roof didn't leak, the wind didn't come through the windows, and you could keep heat in it.
So he added central heat and exposed ductwork all over the house. And they had to shed some light on the matter, and lots of it.
We wanted to create a mood with our lighting, so we've used a combination of track lights, recessed lights, eyeball and spotlights.
He bought the old refinery along with 14 acres of land for $20,000.
Not only did we avoid a mortgage, we put the house together kind of as we had money.
Which made it a lot less expensive to renovate. But how much would his house sell for today?
I really don't know, and I am a real estate appraiser. But it's more than monetary value, it's joy and the opportunity to live in an unusual place, and that's what we like about it.
Brandy loved growing up here. Some people thought they were crazy.
I had friends that thought that, they would walk in and they would be like, wow, Brandy, your house is so cool. And then I had other friends and you could tell they didn't get it and they didn't approve. And needless to say, they're not in the picture all that much anymore because they never really understood me or where I came from.
Brandy loves coming home to visit with her dad. And he couldn't imagine home being anywhere else.
It's been a creative experience, an affirmation of self-reliance. It's been quite a thrill to come out and create something from maybe something that was less. And I would do it again.